What's up, everybody? It's the Alex Leak and Friends NFL podcast back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got Bret on the show. What's up, Bret? Good to have you back on.
Hey, how's it going, man? Glad to be back.
Yeah, good to have you. So let's get into this. This is the 2020 Minnesota Vikings season preview. We're all excited for the 2020 season. No preseason, which will be going on right about now, but we got week one to look forward to. Last year, the Vikings went 10-6, finished second in the NFC North, made the playoffs, beat the Saints in the wild card round, but would lose to the 49ers in the divisional round. Being a Lions fan, Bret, what's your outlook on the Vikings? They traded away Stephon Diggs. Now they got Justin Jefferson. Um, do you think this Vikings team is going to be just as much of a threat as they were the last couple of years?
I think that this Vikings team has had that known dynamic defense for quite some time that has put teams, into a hole that, if their offense at the same time can come out and be powerful, but when you have a defense like they've had, it's tough to say that they're not going to be able to do it again. But to be able to be that consistent for that long, you have to start getting more consistency from the other side. And I'm not sure that that's always going to be the case with the Vikings, especially with some of the way that things were handled during the offseason.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, they've been known for defense for a while, but with Kirk Cousins there, and you got Adam Thielen, now Justin Jefferson coming in to go with Delvin Cook. Quite a few pieces there. Kyle Rudolph, Irv Smith Jr., some guys that I like. But they did lose a lot. We mentioned the Stephon Diggs trade. They also lost defensive tackle Linval Joseph, defensive end Everson Griffin, corner Xavier Rhodes, corner Trey Waynes, corner Mackenzie Alexander, safety Andrew Sendejo, safety Jaron Kearse, wide receiver Laquan Treadwell, defensive end Stephen Weatherly, and a guy that they signed this offseason, Michael Pierce, defensive tackle, and he's decided to opt out. That's quite a few pieces gone off of that defense. So it might be a bit of adjustment. Maybe they're going to be more of an offensive team this year.
That would be the hope if you were looking at it as a, Minnesota fan, because, you just named off half their starters on defense right there. And
yeah,
the whole secondary. So pretty much, it's, that no-fly zone, that defense that was the tenacity and toughness isn't going to be the core defense that it once was. So that's something that quarterbacks and offenses need to be able to take advantage of now, because they weren't able to do so with the Vikings in the past.
Yeah, and really their only, offensive free agent is wide receiver Tajay Sharp from Tennessee. He's no game changer. And they draft corner Jeff Gladney, left tackle Ezra Cleveland. Now, speaking of Everson Griffin, there's been some talk about the Lions possibly, bringing in Everson Griffin. It's amazing to me that he's still a free agent. What's your take on Everson Griffin? Would you like to see him in Detroit? And why do you think the Vikings are moving on from him?
Well, what the Lions have going in Detroit, which sounds weird saying something like that, but defensively, they put some pieces there last year that didn't necessarily work out in year one, but we filled a big hole knowing that Slay was going to be leaving, and what we got there with Trufant, and then in the draft with Akuda. I think there's the reason that I don't know. I'm not saying that I wouldn't you can't say that you wouldn't have him on your roster, but when you're trying to build like the Lions are,
like a certain identity, yeah.
And the Vikings maybe, it is kind of odd because, they are changing defensively. It is going to be something that nobody knows. So why not, take that talent, take somebody that can be, a leader or a voice there for you to help.
A
Maybe.
veteran leader on that defense, a
Yeah.
cog in the middle of that defense. Yeah.
So it's, I mean, but if they're passing on him for a reason, so
Yeah.
it's tough to say why anybody would, but at the same time, if you got something on your mind is how you want to go about your season, then I guess it's just the case.
It's interesting that they signed Michael Pierce away from the Ravens, and then he decided to opt out. I think he was a starting defensive tackle for them. That was the plan. So,
Yeah,
that puts them, I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll bring back Everson Griffin. Maybe they'll bring someone in like Damon Snacks Harrison, who's a former Lion. Who knows? But if I'm the Vikings, defense is a bit of a concern. You look at all those pieces lost. Offense is going to be still pretty good. Dalvin Cook's a hell of a running back. Cousins has proven he's a decent, pretty good quarterback. Along with
yeah,
those weapons, I expect tight end Irv Smith Jr. to continue to develop, along with behind Kyle Rudolph. So interesting moments in Minnesota. Interesting transition year for them. Um, they are getting Gary Kubiak is going to be the OC. So I think I fully expect the Vikings offense to be better than the Vikings defense this year. And that being the case, do you think that affects how good they are on the field?
yeah. That's what earlier when I was speaking on the Vikings offense, I wasn't saying that they were bad, but compared to their defense, they get overlooked. So
Yeah.
I did
For years, that defense carried the team.
right. I mean, I did. With that being said, the one Lions game I went to this past season was at home against the Vikings, where they put up 500 something yards on us and 42 points. So
Cousins is capable of it.
and it was, but Lions, and then it was like 42-32, I think was the final score. So
Mm-hmm.
if you can outduel their defense, you got to then be able to keep up with their offense when they're hot, because they got weapons all over the place.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Now, my prediction for the Vikings, with the core that they have, I mean, defense, I think they might take a step back, but like I said, offensively, they're going to be tough to beat. I got them going 9-7 and in the 7 to 10 win range. I think that injuries or the defense is worse than we think. They could struggle and go 7-9, 8-8, and miss the playoffs. But looking at them on paper, 9-7, 10-6 is what you would expect and reasonable. So they're a borderline playoff team, probably second in the division. I don't think they win the NFC North this year. What do you think? Do you agree 9-7, 7-10 win range is reasonable for Minnesota?
Yeah, I mean, they, again, with the regression on defense, it's going to be hard to maintain that kind of composure or how you had last year, even though at a certain point the Packers kind of pulled ahead. But, you got to remember the fact that if they can't figure it out immediately defensively, it's going to be a long season. So if it doesn't matter what the offense does, but I do agree in that range. I feel like maybe 500, 8-8,
Yeah.
9-7. It's hard to say.
Yeah, and so many games come down to like missed field goals and stuff like that. So who knows where the breaks are going to be that separate these wins and losses. But I think we all agree defense is going to be the thing to keep an eye on for Minnesota this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting whether or not the offense is going to have to carry them now.
Yeah.
As weird as it sounds, but we'll see. If people can take advantage of it, then it's going to be rough for the Vikings this year, regardless of what their offense does. So, because I just don't think it's going to be like it has been. When you prepare for Minnesota like you had in the past, you won't be doing that, in the upcoming season.
Now, what's your take on Kirk Cousins? I'm a Michigan State fan, so I've watched Kirk Cousins for a long time pretty closely. He's got talent there in Minnesota. You got, like we mentioned, Dalvin Cook. Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson now, Kyle Rudolph, Irv Smith Jr. Quite a few pieces to get spread the ball around and be effective. Are you a fan of Cousins? Like, do you think Cousins? What's his ceiling for Minnesota?
I mean, they seem to believe in him. Have
Yeah,
him there, and
they're paying him a lot. They better believe in him.
right. So they're getting. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it doesn't work out like that, but yeah, it is there. So I think the potential, the ceiling is high for him
Mm-hmm.
as a player, but it's difficult, as we know, to be able to be as monstrous as you are of an athlete on offense when your defense is, not picking up the slack. So,
Yeah.
but that doesn't define the kind of athlete that anybody is, and that's the difficulty with it is that with that defense that he had, he looked great. So let's see, if it's going to be the same now.
Yeah, and it's a tough division. The Lions are getting better. The Bears are a great defense. The Packers had a pretty good defense last year. So it's going to be, and we know the NFC North, it always comes down. It's always a battle when those teams match up. So can't wait for 2020. Can't wait for week 1. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Thanks for coming on, Bret. Good insight as always.
Thanks for having me on.
Yep, and have a great week, guys. Peace out.